Hello, my friends. It is hard to believe it, but we are already on the doorstep of December. And before we dive into another month, you know what that means here on my channel. It is a time to look back on the previous month and talk about what I burned through. So in today's video, I have 20 candles to talk about. So I need to keep this introduction short. I trust and hope that you had a very wonderful Thanksgiving holiday last week. I personally was spending it recovering from not only one illness, but two, I got hit with strep throat and a very nasty head cold. So I'm recovering very well, but I could still sound a little bit nasally, so I'm going to apologize in advance for that. But I can smell everything okay, which is what we need because there's a lot of candles to talk about here. You guys know how I feel about Empties. I feel like these are some of the best reviews you can get. And quite honestly, I got a head start on a lot of my holiday / Christmas candles. There are a few candles that were sent to me here in PR that I've already finished up. The majority of these though, I purchased with my own money, but I do always like to disclose that for you. If any of these candles are currently available, which honestly, looking at them, the majority of them are still available on their respective brand websites. I will make sure that I have those linked in the description box down below, along with any affiliate discount codes that I do have for them. I know that Kringle Candle, where my code is Katie15 there, that 15% discount can usually only be combined on full price items. However, my Homeworks discount code, which is Katie's Joyful Life, will save you an additional 15% on orders over $40, and that has been able to be used. I don't know if I'm using proper grammar there. I have been able to use that on sale, on the sales that have been going on recently. And you guys know how we are just in active sale season here. So my purpose really in these review videos is to give you guys feedback, let you guys know what my burn experience has been, and therefore you can just go ahead and make a judgment call on whether or not they are worth the purchase. So if you like this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up. If you want to stick around for more home fragrance content and you're not subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button before you get out of here. But this intro is too long already. Let's get into the candles. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start out with Homeworks here because I've got quite a few of them right in front of me. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with Winter's Eve. Now I believe that this candle is available in this label as well as like the half wrap one. The fragrance notes on Winter's Eve are snowy cypress, fir needles, iced birchwood, and smoky embers. My particular candle was poured on May 7th of 2023. I have to say this candle was absolutely beautiful. The label was stunning when it was lit up. You know, I think Homeworks does a really, really good job with their packaging. If you are looking for the added ambiance of a candle being lit, particularly at nighttime, Homeworks does a really good job with most of their packaging. So this candle actually burned very well for me all the way down. It was a really good performer. I didn't have any issues with the wicks, so that was great. My nose on this one, I put this as a great transitional scent from going to fall to winter and you weren't yet quite ready to burn all of the distinctly quote unquote Christmas tree fragrances. I also believe that this fragrance would be a really nice fragrance to kind of carry us over the post-Christmas hangover. It's still wintry. There is a tree note in here. I would feel like it's not distinctly too cool tree. It says smoky embers in one of the fragrance accords, and there is a slight bit of like smokiness in here, but to be honest with you, I don't think that I would necessarily smell this and be like, oh, it smells like somebody's burning a fire or anything. This to me smells like what I envision if I were traipsing through the woods on a winter's night and maybe somebody was burning a fire in a chimney far off. I might be able to just briefly get like a waft of that through the air, but it's not something that's gonna be like dominant to my nose. That's how I would describe this. I really like this fragrance. It is one that I would consider repurchasing next season. Strength and throw on this one was a solid 7 for me. Now, I will tell you guys that I have kind of transitioned to burning a lot of my candles in hurricanes, simply because I have an open concept home, and quite frankly, I've found some that are really pretty and I like to put them to use. But even without a hurricane, this one performed really well for me. I would say like probably like a 6 to 7, to be honest with you. I don't really find that the hurricane like gives it that much greater of a boost. But I really, really enjoyed this candle and I would recommend it. It is one that I would consider repurchasing. Another candle that I think I had this from last year. Yes, I did. I purchased this last year. I think it went on clearance at Macy's. This is Cranberry Wreath. Now, this is, again, another fragrance that I prefer to burn in the month of November. I'm kind of beyond it for the holiday. The fragrance notes on this are iced cranberries, fir needle, fresh balsam, and musk. Yes, and this particular candle was, oh no, this one wasn't, I didn't get it. Oh wait, yes I did. I did get it last year. I'm getting my years mixed up, you guys. This had a June 10th of 2022 pour date on it. And of course, that made me a little bit nervous because last year when I had candles poured around that early June pour date, I had a lot of difficulty with strength and throw or wick issues. I will say that this one did initially struggle to pool out for me. But again, I feel like that's kind of a moot point by now because this is a very old pour. So I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about the fragrance on this one because the strength and throw, I feel like it's not, it probably wouldn't apply as much because I think this was the time period of bad batches. However, I did not have any issues with this one burning down for me. It struggled to pull out a little bit, that initial burn. And so a tip that I have for you is if you are noticing that your Homeworks candle on the first burn is taking a little bit longer to pool out than you would like it to, I sometimes will let it pool out for about 5 hours. I know that's beyond the recommended burn time, but sometimes that allows it to achieve a full wax pool, and then successive burns, it pools out a little bit quicker. That's just a tip that I have. Or you can also throw it in a hurricane to try to rectify that situation. Anyways, this fragrance is lovely. This is cranberry, but you've got a little bit of green tree note in here. It does smell like what the name implies, like a wreath. It's not necessarily a Christmas tree fragrance. It is like a wreath that you would put on your door. That fresh wreath, the fresh tree note. What kind of tree note is that in there? You guys, I live in Arizona, so to be honest with you, like, pine trees, the closest thing that we have to pine trees are ponderosas up about an hour and a half away. So I'm not as familiar with all the distinct tree fragrance notes, but it does say fir needle and balsam. And I would say that like I can distinguish, now that I've smelled more, I can distinguish some, like the difference between like a fir as opposed to like say a spruce. I can smell differences on that. But the cranberry in here is very nice because it's not overly tart cranberry. It's sweet, very, very pleasant. Cranberry is kind of a hit or miss fragrance for me, although I used to think that, and now I'm finding that I actually enjoy a lot of cranberry scents. So, oh, but this one was absolutely lovely. Strength and throw on this particular candle with this pour date was about a 5.5, 6. It could have been stronger for me, but again, it's a moot point by this time because that's an old pour. All right, a candle that I purchased during Christmas in July this year was Grandma's Gingerbread. Now this was a QVC Christmas in July. It came in a duo. I really like the lids on these. I don't know if my lighting is gonna be a little bit too reflective there, so I'm sorry if it is. The fragrance notes on this are warm gingerbread, ground cinnamon, crushed nutmeg, and brown sugar icing. The pour date on this is March 9th of 2023. Now, I will tell you, this one, the wicks, again, struggled for me. They were kind of those slow burning wicks. They had a hard time kind of pooling out. In fact, I found myself having to pour out some of the wax to keep this one from getting drowning wicks. This has been a very disappointing performer for me. The strength and throw on this one was also pretty minimal. I would say it would be between like a 4 and a 5. I do have one more of these candles, which is currently sitting in my candle closet, and I am going to attempt to burn it. I haven't decided if I'm going to attempt to burn it in January or if I'm going to hold on to it for another year and see if the strength and throw increase. Homeworks candles are known for sometimes if you get maybe a lighter throw on it, if you put it back in the closet and let it sit, sometimes it comes back bigger and better than ever. But I did like the fragrance of this. I know a lot of people are hit and miss with gingerbread scents. I think that this one was done very, very well. It did remind me of like a gingerbread cookie. It was definitely a gourmand type of fragrance to it. Not too gingery, I would say. I actually really, really enjoyed it. It's one that I don't know if it would be like a must-have repurchase for me, but I did like that I gave it a try, and I found that it blends pretty nicely with like a tree scent when I was getting ready to transition from fall to Christmas, but I wasn't yet quite ready for all of the Christmas fragrances. Another fragrance that I burned through is Cinnamon Sugar Marshmallow. Now, I don't believe that this one is currently available on the Dot Shop website right now, or what is it now, slatkinandco.com. They rebranded the website this year. The fragrance notes on this are fluffy marshmallow, sweet cinnamon, sparkling sugar, and white cocoa. The pour date on mine is May 7th of 2023. Now, I do think that this one is in stock at Ulta. If it is, I will make sure that I have it linked down below. This fragrance, this was actually really nice. This is a nice mixing candle. I feel like that is appropriate. You could probably, honestly, burn this year round. I feel like this is a very versatile fragrance. This one was very strong for me. This one was about an 8, almost to the point that I couldn't burn this one in my bedroom because it almost became borderline cloying. So I made sure that I always burn this one out here in my open concept living room. If you are new to my channel, which every once in a while I need to like put this out there because I feel like it's useful and helpful information. I live in a single story, 1,800 square foot home. It is, we've got high ceilings here in the living room, and it's open concept with the kitchen, but my bedrooms have a little bit lower ceilings and obviously more closed concept. So when I'm giving you a strength and throw projection, it's usually based off of what I could smell in my open concept living room. I hope that kind of like gives some clarity here. But this one was a really strong performer here in my living room. It could get borderline cloying though. If you like really sweet fragrances, I think that you would like this. I found that this was versatile in that I could burn it with a tree scent. I could burn it with more like smoky, woodsy hearth type of fragrances. I really, really liked it. I do get that marshmallow note in here. The cinnamon note is in there. So if you're somebody that doesn't like cinnamon, I would advise you to probably steer clear of this. But yeah, just definitely cinnamon, marshmallow. I don't really smell, well, I don't know what white cocoa would smell like, but it's very sweet and nice. All right, this is a candle that I think I showed in my most recent Homeworks haul, and I was surprised that I burned through it so quickly. I found this candle at TJ Maxx. And I believe that this was from a QVC TSV. I believe that it may have been mislabeled or whatnot, but this is Balsam White Birch. Now this is a 3-wick. I love this vessel, so I will be keeping this vessel around because I think that this makes like a perfect little, like I could do something with this. I can either put like a Kringle Daylight or a votive in here. I can also repurpose this to like as like a gift giving thing. I can use it as a candy dish. There's so many things that I can use this for. So Balsam White Birch, the fragrance notes on this are fir balsam, white birch, cedar leaf, smoldering woods. And my particular pour date on this one was November 10th of 2021. So this one's been sitting for about 2 years. Keep that in mind because this fragrance, while it burned beautifully for me, I will say that the first burn of this candle was very, very light. In fact, I was like, I don't recall this being that light. And in fact, it took about 3 burns in order for me to kind of get a decent strength and throw from it. But to be honest with you guys, I put it in a hurricane and it still only gave me a strength and throw tops of maybe a 6 here in my living room. I did go ahead and move it into my bedroom and I got some better performance out of it there. That's another pro tip. If a candle is not performing well for you in a larger room, just simply try moving it to a smaller space and then maybe you might be able to enjoy it a little bit more. I know that's not the way that it should be. Every candle in our ideal perfect world would, you know, knock our socks off no matter where we place it, but that's just not reality sometimes. I will say this candle was only $12 at TJ Maxx, so I do feel like it was, you know, it performed okay for the money. And again, I really like the vessel. I feel like the vessel in and of itself kind of pays for itself. This was a candle that I did repurchase. I do like this fragrance. This is kind of like a toned down, somewhat sweeter version of white birch. If you like the white birch from Homeworks, but maybe you find it to be a little bit too astringent, then I would recommend this one because it lends a little bit of sweetness without it being a gourmand sweetness. It's more of like a natural sweetness. I feel like, that would be a good option. All right, another candle that I have burned through. This was my second one that I burned through in this season, which should tell you something because I typically don't buy more than one fragrance in a season unless I really, really love it. And that is, of course, Harvest Leaves. The fragrance notes on Harvest Leaves are spiced pumpkin, mandarin, cranberry, fir balsam, applewood. The pour date on this particular candle was July 7th of 2023. And you guys know I'm not going to go into too much detail about this one. This one has pumpkin, it's got cranberry. It is a quintessential fall staple in my house. This one burned quite strong for me. I would say that this was a solid 8 in terms of strength and throw. I didn't have any issues with the wicks, so that was another good one. All right, another candle that I think this is now maybe my third or fourth year burning this one in the month of November, and this is a quintessential November candle to me. I did actually see it return to the Homeworks website or Slatkin & Co website for Black Friday. This is Scarlet Woods. Now, this is a candle that I have described as it can be a little bit polarizing because on cold sniff, it smells kind of funky, to be honest with you. So the fragrance notes on this are scarlet red woods, that's an accord, cardamom, clove bud, and vanilla. So cardamom and clove bud can kind of be polarizing fragrances. I feel like you either like them or you don't. The pour date on this particular candle was June 4th of 2022. So again, another candle that had been sitting for about a year and a half. This one I did purchase at TJ Maxx, but like I said, you know, it's showing up now on the Slatkin & Co website. So that would probably, in my estimation, probably be a newer pour. So this fragrance is interesting because on cold sniff, it's very pungent. When this one burns, there is a warmth. I feel like it's aptly named, which by the way, this is another candle that when it is lit, oh my goodness, the label is absolutely stunning on it. This one, I was mixing with a tree note. I particularly liked burning it with Bath & Body Works Winter White Woods. It just gives this like woodsy vibe, but it's not, like my kids say, it's like it's getting you ready for Christmas, but it's not necessarily a Christmas fragrance. I love it. There's something, it's funny, the smell of this reminds me of like what you would think scarlet would smell like. As strange as that sounds, I think that this is such a well-named candle. I do get some of that cardamom and definitely a little bit of clove in there, maybe a hint of vanilla, but this is not like a gourmand fragrance. I really, really like this one. Strength and throw on this was very strong for me. Again, it was a good solid 8 for me because this is one of the stronger fragrances. I think the fragrance oils or notes that are listed in here just kind of lend themselves to being strong, but that was a really good performer for me. Another candle that will definitely be a repurchase for me going into next year. I actually burned through 2 of these this season, and it is Sweater Weather. Now, this particular one right here that I am holding, I did purchase last year again when Macy's was having an after Christmas clearance. So the pour date on this one is July 9th of 2022. The fragrance notes of Sweater Weather are cool winter air, eucalyptus, fallen fir needle, and vanilla bean. I am finding that when fir is listed as a fragrance note for me in tree notes, I really tend to enjoy that. So this candle to me, I had also mentioned this in my November candle like suggestions because this again is another fragrance that reminds me of Christmas without it being full-blown like to me, when I smell certain Christmas scents, I distinctly associate them with the month of December. I'm talking about Kringle's Christmas. I'm talking about Yankees Home for the Holidays. What's another one? Nest Holiday, I feel like is right on the borderline there. I can do late November, but that is also like a Christmas scent to me. This is This is really, really nice because you get a little bit of earthiness of tree in here, but there's something warm and inviting about it. I don't really smell eucalyptus in here because eucalyptus to me like would give off like a coolness. This is very much a warm evening, like pretty much what the picture is invoking here, that you're sitting by the fire with a good book and a cozy blanket. In my home, the cat would be on the lap. I mean, it invokes sweater weather, what you think of there. This one was pretty decent for me. I would say that this was also a solid 8 for me in my open concept living room here. I really like this fragrance, and I found equal performance for not only that candle, but I did have one that I picked up at TJ Maxx, and that one performed equally as well. I didn't have any wick issues. That was a really, really good performer for me. All right, here's a candle that is not currently available. It did come out during the QVC Christmas in July. This is a fragrance that I would consider repurchasing. However, this year's version of it was a bit disappointing. Now, this candle, in full disclosure, was sent to me from Homeworks way back in July. I was not going to burn Christmas fragrances in July. I think I did give kind of like my first sniff impressions on it, but I did burn through all of it. This is Dreaming of a White Christmas. Now, again, knocking it out of the park with the label on here. The fragrance notes on Dreaming of a White Christmas are winter air, crushed peppermint, marshmallow fluff, white birchwood. The pour date on this one was March 8th of 2023, which I think is the same pour date as that Grandma's Gingerbread. I think a lot of the TSV candles for Christmas in July were poured around the same time. Okay, so here's the beef I had with this one. This candle had difficulty with the wicks. It had difficulty pulling out. And then once it did, it really, really struggled with strength and throw. In fact, it took about 3 burns for me to even get like, I would say like without a hurricane, this was at like a 3 or 4. The good news is that when I did put it in a hurricane, it did bump up to about a solid 6.5 in terms of strength and throw. But this is a candle that I would love to see come back stronger and better because I really, really enjoy the fragrance. I detect marshmallow in here, but it's different than that cinnamon sugar marshmallow. There's no cinnamon note in here, which I kind of appreciate a little bit more. If you were to ask me which one I liked between these two kind of like marshmallow fragrances, I would give the edge to this Dreaming of a White Christmas, just simply the label and then the actual fragrance of it. I get a slight bit of white birchwood in here. And the peppermint note in here, it says crushed peppermint because it kind of reminds me of like the minty note that you would have in, say, like Bath and Body Works. Is it crushed candy cane? Is it that one? It's not twisted peppermint. It's their other like peppermint candle. I think it's crushed candy cane. Yeah, it's very, very nice. I actually paired this with Kringle's Winter White Woods, which also has a slight peppermint note in it, or their peppermint hot cocoa, that one, or peppermint cocoa, I can't remember what it's called, paired really nicely. But again, this one, the strength and throw, I just wish it would have been better. But really love the fragrance, and if it comes back next year, I would give it another go. All right, sorry you guys, I'm trying to like play this delicate balancing act here on my table. Okay, another candle that was sent to me from Homeworks. Now I did have, this one was sent to me, and then I had this same fragrance in a carryover from last year, again, after clearance sale at Macy's. This is Deck the Halls. Now my friend Brett, Philly Candleman, absolutely loves this fragrance from Homeworks. Again, label, absolutely stunning. This one was really pretty when it was lit up. So Deck the Halls, the fragrance notes are blue spruce, frozen evergreen, glacial eucalyptus, and iced moss. The pour date on this one was March 8th of 2023. Okay, so this one, if you are somebody who loves spruce fragrances, then you will like this one. I do get a bit of evergreen in here as well, kind of a mossy, earthy note. This to me, honestly, it smells like, I grew up in the 1980s. I was born in 1984. And this like reminds me of like childhood Christmases, like going into like my grandparents' home or something. I don't know, like there's something nostalgic about this scent, but I can't necessarily put my finger on it because it doesn't really smell like my home at Christmas, but I do have memories associated with these fragrances. I think it probably came from people who purchased spruce trees I grew up in Southern California. We weren't going out and chopping down trees. We would just go and get them at the tree lot. But yeah, I think that's what it is. This is really nice. Now, I will tell you that spruce scents are probably my least favorite of the tree fragrances, just because I don't mean for this to come off offensively, but there is something that smells a little bit like cat urine to me. Like spruce can borderline get there for me. So I don't think that I would repurchase this fragrance. However, it did burn really nicely for me. This one was a solid 8. Some of these tree fragrances, I feel like it's pretty easy for them to be strong. But if you are somebody who likes a spruce fragrance, then I would recommend this one because it was a good performer for me. I didn't have any issues with the wicks, so that's always a good thing. Another candle that was sent to me in PR is Feliz Navidad. So you guys would not actually know that I actually have a Hispanic last name. My married last name is Hispanic, but I don't speak a lick of Spanish. My brother-in-law does. It's actually his first language. So I hope he doesn't watch this and correct my Spanish because I will probably butcher such a beautiful language. All right, Feliz Navidad is toasted coconut, sweet condensed milk, white rum, and hazelnut cream. The pour date on mine was July 9th of 2023. All right, so this fragrance, Hallmarks did let the ambassadors that they chose to send this PR to pick out what scent that they wanted. And so I kind of blind bought this one without even seeing the fragrance notes. I just kind of looked at the label and was like, sometimes Hallmarks lets us know like what the fragrance notes are going to be, and otherwise they just show us a picture and kind of like, well, take your guess, you know. This candle is really nice. This is not necessarily one that I would determine to be like something that I would quintessentially think of as Christmas. This was a really nice fragrance to burn in the mornings. I do get some of that hazelnut in here. It's a creamy type of fragrance without it being like vanilla creamy. This is very much like I think like how they talk about like the toasted coconut in here, because when you see coconut, for me personally, I always think like summertime, beachy. That's not the coconut that I'm getting here. It's definitely more of like a gourmand, creamy, like the flesh of a coconut fragrance in here. But when it's burning, you don't think like, oh, I'm smelling coconut. It's more of like a hazelnut fragrance. It's very, very nice. Again, I paired this one with a tree note. I think I really enjoyed burning it with Bath & Body Works Winter White Woods. That's one of my favorite fragrances. Spoiler alert if you didn't see my Christmas video. But this one is really, really nice. This one, this Feliz Navidad candle performed very well for me. Now, I will say this is one of those candles that the first burn, it was taking a while to pull out. So I did let it pull out for about 5 hours. But again, this was a candle that if I burned this in my bedroom, it became borderline cloying. So I did make sure that I always burned it out here in the living room. I would say it was a solid 9. This one was probably my strongest thrower of all of the Hallmarks candles that I burned this month. This one was shockingly very surprising because when you smell it on cold snip, it doesn't smell like something that would be like, that it would perform that well, but it really, really did well. So if you are looking at this candle, because I feel like this is not one I've seen a lot of reviews on, I would say go ahead and pick it up if those fragrance notes intrigue you. It performed really well for me. Okay, and the last Hallmarks candle that I have here is one that I don't feel like I need to go on and on about because it is one of my perennial favorites. This is Winter Fireside. I know some people are like, nope, too smoky for me. I absolutely love it. The fragrance notes are sultry incense, smoked firewood, rich clove buds, mulled spices, and my pour date on this one is June 9th of 2023. This to me, again, is that quintessential, you've got some clove and some like kitchen spices in here, not cinnamon. I don't smell cinnamon. You do get kind of an incense note, but the incense note in here to me does not smell like you're trying to mask the odor of any other natural substance. I grew up in California. You guys all know what I'm talking about. But there is like a firewood type of note going on here. But it doesn't remind me of like, oh, I'm being choked out by smoke. It is definitely like a smoky scent. So if you are somebody who likes hearth fragrances, you would like this one. I will say that this particular version was not as strong for me as some of the iterations that I have had in the past. I would say this one was about a 6. not very strong. I did get better performance. In fact, I ended up putting it in my bedroom so that I could smell it a little bit better, but it didn't perform as well in my living room as I remember previous year's versions doing. So, oh my word, I think next month if I burn through this many candles, I might have to switch to doing these empties videos weekly because I am already about 30 minutes into this video and I still have a few more fragrances to talk about. So let's pick up the pace here, Katie. All right, I did finish a Bath & Body Works candle. This is Cozy Sunday Night. This was a new fragrance to me. I'm not sure if it was completely new. I honestly don't follow Bath & Body Works as closely as some others do in the home fragrance community. But the fragrance notes on this are warm cinnamon, crystallized ginger, and vanilla bean. This was a nice fragrance. Strength and throw was pretty strong for me. I would say it was a good solid 8. It was pretty strong for me. Another one of those candles that if I burned it in my bedroom, it was too strong and cloying. Very cinnamon heavy. But there's kind of like a woodsiness to this that I liked. It burned really, really well for me. You will see that it got a little bit sooty there towards the end, but that was just because I think, you know, when I'm getting close to finishing up a candle, I oftentimes will just let it burn, probably longer than the recommended burn time. A little bit of ginger in here, but yeah, it was okay. It's not going to be a repurchase for me. It's one that I'm glad that I tried out, but not going to be a repurchase. Another candle that was nice, but I don't believe that I will be repurchasing is Father Christmas. Now, this is a new candle to the Kringle candle lineup this year. And the reason that I don't think I'll be repurchasing this one, even though it burned flawlessly for me, is because my husband didn't really care for this fragrance. And while I did not like it, it wasn't one that I'm just like, oh, I need to have more of that. It's kind of perfumey. It's got a little bit of like a leathery accord to it. Again, this was not a fragrance that I really associated with Christmas time. But that's just my own personal preference. Some others might smell this and absolutely love it. And they're like, oh yeah, this reminds me of Santa Claus. This does remind me a little bit of like when I would go to, like as a kid, like if Santa was in like a tent, say like at like any kind of Christmas event. It does kind of remind me of that fragrance. There is something about, I think it's like, there's a slight leathery note in here. Strength and throw on this one was about a 6. It wasn't overly strong. I did end up burning this one in our guest bathroom, and that's the majority of the time where I burned it. And it performed pretty well there, and it threw quite well into the other bedrooms on that side of the house. But again, it's not a fragrance that I particularly loved and was like, oh, I'm clamoring to have more of. Another candle that I burned through, this is from last year. So I purchased this the day after Christmas, I think in a sale. This is Kringle Candles, what is this called? Winter Wonder. And they don't have the fragrance notes listed on the bottom of this one. I don't know why, I thought they did on most of the 3 wicks. Burned flawlessly, beautifully for me. Winter Wonder, I know that it's not available anymore in this 3-wick format, but I do believe that it's still available in the 2 wicks. I like this scent. It's very fresh, crisp, Christmas, not Christmas tree, but like definitely like forested tree scent. If you are somebody who is familiar with a lot of Homeworks candles, this to my nose smells quite similar to snow-tipped pine. So if you like that fragrance, I think that you would like Winter Wonder. It's very nice. It's a good all throughout the winter type of fragrance. I like this one in January. I also like this one in November. Strength and throw on that was a good solid 7 for me. I love those Kringle 3 wicks. I wish that they would start putting more and more fragrances into the 3 wicks, because for me, as somebody who's reviewing, I like to get through my candles a little bit quicker, and I do find that the 3 wicks, they give you a little bit more oomph. They fit in my hurricanes nicely, and they just, I don't know, I find that I can get through them. I feel like a sense of accomplishment when I finish them more. I don't know. Another 3-wick from Kringle that again was a purchase from last year. This is Cranmary. I really liked this fragrance. Are the notes on this one? Yes. Sparkling cranberry, frosted juniper berry, juicy orange, bright raspberry, sugared pine, sweet vanilla bean. This was a really nice early November scent. I even think that I started burning this at the end of October because I was kind of getting over like all of the pumpkin fragrances. This was a really nice transitional scent. Now to me, there is a tartness in this, and it's much sweeter than say like Cranberry Wreath. I typically burned this one alongside Cranberry Wreath, and they blended or complemented each other very nicely. But This one is like almost like borderline like a tart. I want to say it reminds me of the tartness. If you remember Bath and Body Works Sun Ripened Raspberry way back in the day, there's something about this, like the tartness that I smell in this reminds me of that fragrance, but it's not the same as Sun Ripened Raspberry. It's just that tart note reminds me of it. This one was a strength and throw of about a 7 for me. Again, no issues with the burn on it. A really nice fragrance. I did burn through 2 daylights. One is Snowy Bridge. I had this candle last year in the 2-wick large jar. I really like this fragrance. I do wish it was stronger though, because when I had it in the large jar, the top like strength and throw I would get from it was a 4, but I did go ahead and finish up a daylight of it. I also finished a daylight of Winter Evergreen. This is not one that I felt like I needed to purchase in a full size. The Evergreen is, it's too much tree for me. I don't know. It's not my favorite of the tree notes. I feel like there's other tree notes that I like, but it was decent. Okay, and then the other 2 candles that were probably my favorite of the Kringles that I burned through in the month of November. I think this one is still currently available. Reindeer Beer, which first off, this 3-wick jar is so cute. So Reindeer Beer, the fragrance notes are fizzy root beer soda, Mrs. Claus's whipped batter, ginger, molasses, root chips, and vanilla. Now again, a flawless burn. You will see, the only thing that I'm going to say about some of these Kringle 3-wicks, and I think it's just the Kringle soy wax in general, this would be my feedback back to them. I am somebody that extinguishes my wicks using a wick dipper. I don't like to blow them out. I like to use a wick dipper. And I do find that once my Kringle candles get to like where the wax pool is deep enough to where you can see the wick clips, sometimes when I go to dip my wicks, the clips detach at the bottom, whereas I don't have that issue with Homeworks or Bath and Body Works. So that would be my feedback back to Kringle, is maybe just look into the glue to see if there's like a stronger adhesive that you can use. So that way for those of us who prefer to dip our wicks, that we don't lose the wick clips, because then I have to really watch it to make sure it's not floating around for candle safety. You guys, I'm not really one who loves root beer fragrances. I tried the root beer float from Homeworks earlier this year and I really didn't like it. And so I was a little nervous about this one. This is really, really nice. When it is burning, you definitely get more of that like creamy vanilla fragrance that blends beautifully. It's a fragrance that on cold sniff, you think, oh, that smells like root beer. But when it is burning, I can see why this is marketed as a wintertime fragrance. It's not marketed as like a summertime fragrance like most people would think a root beer candle would be. This would be a really nice year-round fragrance. So if you're somebody who like doesn't really care what the packaging looks like, I mean, this looks pretty Christmassy. This is one that I would actually contemplate picking up more of because I really, really liked it. It paired nicely with some vanillas. I did burn this with that Grandma's Gingerbread. A really nice fragrance. Strength and throw on this one was pretty high for me. This was a solid 8. Very strong, so I would recommend that one if you are in the market for it. And finally, I burned through one of these Kringle Mercury jars, and this was a new fragrance to me. And spoiler alert, I actually purchased another one during the Kringle Black Friday sale because the Mercury jars were 25% off. This is Fireplace. Fireplace? Yes, got it right. Fireplace. So the fragrance notes on this are smoke, wood, spice, herbal, amber, and vetiver. This is one that I wasn't so sure that I would like it on cold sniff, but when I'm burning, oh baby, do I love this scent. I particularly love this one. Again, it's another versatile fragrance, but I burn this with Kringle Candles Holiday, another one of their Mercury jars. The blend of those together is beautiful. You do get kind of a smoky note in here, but it's not as smoky as Winter Fireside from Homeworks. That is probably the smokiest scent. I get some of that amber sweetness of, what spice? Do they have any spice? Yeah, whatever spice and herbalness that they're putting in here. The herbal is not bay leaf, but it goes really nicely with that holiday fragrance. This is also one that paired really nicely with tree fragrances. And let me tell you guys, the strength of this one was about a 7, but the throw was a 9. I couldn't believe how, this was probably my strongest like throwing candle of all of my Kringle candles this month. I was burning this one out in my living room and I could smell it all the way over in my daughter's closet. I don't know if it was just like it had a beeline towards that area of the house, but I could smell it in my bedroom. I could smell it all throughout the house when I was burning this. So again, this was another repurchase for me. I really, really, really love this fragrance. I'm contemplating actually picking up another backup to this backup because I'm always worried sometimes that like a fragrance won't come back, but this was a beautiful fragrance. If you see these mercury jars go on sale again, I would highly recommend picking this one up. It says a lot. You guys know that this Kringle soy wax burns. Not only does it burn very cleanly, but it burns very slowly in my opinion. And the fact that I burned through an entire one in the month of November should tell you how much I really enjoyed this fragrance. So, I am so sorry that this is such a long video. I hope you guys had a nice cup of hot tea or coffee or whatever drink or snack that you are indulging on during this time of the year. Let me know in the comment box down below if any of these candles that I talked about are some of your favorites. I would be curious to know. As always, I encourage you to chime in with what your experiences are because we are a community here. I am just one of several voices sharing my opinion and thoughts about these candles. Again, most of these are still available, and if they are, I will make sure that I have them linked in the description box down below. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up. If you want to stick around for more of my content, I've got a couple of Black Friday hauls coming up for you, as well as maybe some just giving you some updates on what I am burning this month. And I don't know, maybe we'll veer off and do some other fun things this month. Make sure that you are subscribed to my channel so that you don't miss any of it. Thank you again for sticking around for this very long video. I want to just say thank you for doing that. And I truly hope that until my next one, I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day. Bye.